Hey guys, 6.2 PTR is now up for testing, so make sure to download it and try it out if you'd like to see the upcoming changes. Now, if you're not up to it, I can say right now that there's a whole lot of changes coming down the line, including the last part of the Legendary Ring quest chain. Now let's talk about the changes for a bit, or at least the possible changes for a bit. So as with my 6.1 PTR update, I'll be focusing on the areas that I do personally find interesting, or are basically just updates to the previous guides I've uploaded. Now, if you need the full information, I'll make sure to add a link for Blizzard's patch notes in the description box below. So, as I mentioned, there are a couple of changes. Now, let's start off with the general ones. So, the first one is Tanaan Jungle will be unlocked. So, you basically started on Draenor there, and now it's time for you to come back full circle and take on Tanaan. At the moment, the intention is to require players to have a level 3 garrison and build a shipyard. Now, that shipyard also adds a new set of naval or sea-type garrison missions. There's not a whole lot of details on that, but that's one thing. This shipyard eventually then becomes your access to Tanaan to take on new daily quests, rare mobs, a raid, and other things. Now, for the raid, that is Hellfire Citadel. So, I haven't really completed, to be honest, I haven't really completed the Foundry due to the lack of interest and more, basically more attention being given to my leveling priest. But yep, Hellfire is the new and quite possibly last raid for the expansion. It appears that two known figures like Manaroth and Archimond will be making an appearance. So details are quite few at the moment, but this seems really interesting. So the third general change that I found interesting is that Mythic Dungeons. To be honest, this is something I was, looking for actually. It's a mythic setting for dungeons. So time constraints really stopped me from doing even, normal difficulty raids. So I was hoping they could implement the LFR queuing system for normal modes, but upping the mode for dungeons will do as well. So top difficulty dungeons have a lockout schedule just like raids, with gear drops at item levels of 680. So this is finally something for me to do PvE wise. And the last general change that I'd like to mention is the PvP gear caps. So Blizzard is now setting a cap for all PvE gear used in PvP combat. Gear with levels of 560 to 690 will scale up to 690, while gear going over level 715 will scale down to, 715. PvP gear, or basically any other PvP sourced gear, will stay the same in terms of scaling. Okay, now let's get into the changes that might affect the guides I've uploaded. So, of course, none of these are final until Blizzard actually patches our live clients with the new content. It's something you can play around in your heads, but then again, it won't be final. So, they're all pretty straightforward, so I'll just go through them quickly. For warriors, at the moment, there's only one change planned for them that I'm interested in. So that's a change in defensive stance. The stance will be buffed to 25% damage reduction from 20% damage reduction. So that's a good change for all protection warriors, or even those warriors that like to switch into defensive stance when in PvP for arms and fury. Druids, the class has so many changes that might be implemented, and I gotta say, they're pretty nice ones. So the first one is Frenzied Regen will refund the excess healing as rage for Guardian Druids. So that's really good. None of the resource is wasted. My favorite AoE Thrash skill will be buffed by 10%, so that's great. Here's something that I've been looking forward to. Guardian Druid Bear Form increases armor by 285% from 250%. That's pretty good. Healing Touch will no longer cancel Bear Form for Guardian Druids. I don't know why that ever canceled Bear Form for Guardian Druids from before, but that's a good change. Savage Defense will have the additional effect of reducing physical damage by 25%, so that's a pretty good buff for the ability. And the talent Dream of Scenarios, its effect can now be stored for 40 seconds instead of 20 seconds. And I think that this is really good because, there have been a number of situations I've noticed that while you do get the proc, it sometimes procs in the moments where you don't really need the healing or the effect itself. So this is good. You have an additional 20 seconds to keep the proc. And quite possibly, well, at least for the moment, the last one is for Death Knights. So there are a number of changes also for them, but there's really only one that interests me. So that's the change to Magic Shell. The ability will now absorb 100% of all magical damage, but will not trigger the resolved effect. All right, and that's it for this quick update on of PTR 6.2. So I wanted to show you guys the PTR and what's inside it, but I was really unlucky to see the test realms go offline just basically right after I was able to finish downloading the PTR client. Anyway, I have to go back to leveling my priest, so you can expect a disc healing guide from me soon. See you in the next one.